Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today, bringing you guys and gals the spoiler review of Captain America Civil War. Now, I've already done the spoiler-free review. Of course, there'll be a link to that in the box below, and if you have not seen the movie, then go watch that. You should not be here. You will be spoiled. You should not be here. I'm giving you forewarning. The title itself is a massive warning. This is a spoiler-based review of the movie. Now, if you must know, my rating has not changed. It is still an 8.25 out of 10. Now, let me explain not only the good, but also the bad when it comes to this movie, in my personal opinion, obviously. First of all, I got my phone full of notes. I don't use paper anymore. I mean... I would use paper, but no. Technology, nigga. So, let me explain the good. Number one, like I said before, the character interaction, I think, is marvelous, alright? The character interaction between, let's say, Bucky and Falcon and Steve Rogers, Captain America, that was awesome, alright? Those three mesh very well. Funny stuff, as always. Iron Man and Spider-Man, hilarious. You can kind of see that Spider-Man is now like the apprentice of Iron Man, and as far as I know, it is confirmed that in the upcoming Spider-Man film, Tony Stark will be in that, Robert Downey Jr. will be in that film. That's, as far as I know, confirmed. Also, the interaction between Scarlett Johansson and Black Panther, or Black Widow and Black Panther, that was pretty good. And then seeing Paul Rudd have his moments throughout the entire movie. I mean, Ant-Man I thought was just absolutely awesome. So all in all, I think the best part about this movie is the character interaction. Seeing all these people, seeing all these heroes come together, having their clash, having these cohesive moments, the betrayals, the emotions. I think that is the best part of the movie, the overall character interaction. That's number one. Number two is the fight scenes. And this, I think, goes with number three, the CGI, in which the fight scenes are well choreographed. They're pretty damn awesome. I can't deny it. When you have the main airport battle, Ant-Man, Ant-Man, Spider-Man, those two I think shine in particular. Black Panther, kicks for days. Kicks for fucking days. Jesus Christ, hit more than Lee. But when you have Ant-Man, and he's in Tony Stark's suit, and he's like, what is that? I'm your conscience. And he's just fucking around with shit. That's hilarious. When he goes Giant Man, like, the last time I tried this, it almost split my body in half, but I'm gonna do it anyway. And then he goes Giant Man, he's grabbing Don Cheadle and shit, he's throwing him. That shit was awesome. Then you have Spider-Man versus pretty much Falcon and Bucky, and those scenes were hilarious, awesome. Spider-Man, all the while, he's like repeating what Tony Stark says, and he's like, Stark said that you said that. Yeah, he said that you said that as well. And like, you can see how you have like Falcon and Bucky who do not like each other, how they have to come together. And at the end of all that, it's pretty much like, listen, man, I really do hate you. Like, I really do hate you, Bucky. I'm letting you know that here now. I hate your guts. So, like, it's that kind of stuff where you have the sarcasm, where you have the humor intertwined with the fighting itself. And the fighting itself, not only, again, is it well choreographed, but also the CGI is on point as well. I do love the fight scenes. The ending fight scene between Iron Man, Captain America, and Bucky, that was awesome. That was on point. Because you could really feel the emotion emitting from Robert Downey Jr., from Tony Stark, from Iron Man. You can really, really feel it. He had just witnessed not only the murder of his mother and father, but also the person who killed him was right there. He was right there, and he just found this shit out. And of course, that person being the very good friend of Captain America, where beforehand they were joking about how they're both like over 100 years old and shit. And so it's that kind of stuff where like you can really like feel the emotion in that final fight. Though granted, I'll say this here now, I found that it was kind of fucked up where he acknowledges Mama but says fuck Daddy. Daddy had his head bashed in. Mama gets choked out off screen, of course, because, Mama, my mama. And of course, he says, well, you killed my mom. What about Pops? God, fucked up. Despite that, That I think was a very good fight, not only because of how it was choreographed, but also because of the emotions, the earnest to honest emotions that you could feel emitting from the characters while they were fighting. Now, I already covered the CGI because, again, the CGI I think coincides along with the fighting as well, and that was pretty good. So number 4 for the good is going to be the pacing, because I felt like the movie was well paced, though what I will say is that when it came to the imprisonment of Captain America's unit, I did feel that was kind of weird. Like, the pacing kind of threw me off a little bit when it came to that whole transition of them being in prison. But aside from that, the pacing I thought was through and through good, because for the most part I did not lose where the characters were, what was going on, the events that were unfolding throughout the entirety of the movie. It wasn't like jumbled up like Batman v Superman, where the pacing in that movie is just down the gutter. When it comes to this movie, for the most part, it was clear cut and smooth, so overall it was a well-paced movie. Finally, number 5 is going to be the characterization. 3 characters, to me, stuck out the most: Black Panther, Captain America, and Iron Man. Iron Man gets the most characterization, the most character development among all the characters. Not only does this, of course, tie into the ending, you see how he reacts when he finds out that Bucky was the one that killed his mother and father, but also it starts at the very beginning of the movie. You see how Captain America and Iron Man differ, and this main difference is what ultimately leads to the conflict between the Avengers, where in which Iron Man is someone who has seen his power in earnest go out of control and kill a lot of people, not only through Ultron, but also in, I guess, the daily heroic deeds of the Avengers, where in which, even though they save the world time and time again, it also comes down to the fact that they have immense power. And not only does that immense power create casualties while they save the world, but also that power attracts other forces to challenge that power, which is what was alluded to by Vision. So when it comes to this power, Tony Stark is not someone like Captain America, where people will die for the sake of the greater good. And what ultimately matters to Captain America in this case would be the greater good. But when it comes to Tony Stark, when it comes to the amount of death that is on his shoulders, the people that were trying to do good in the world, but they're not superheroes, where they were trying to, do some stuff for charity, when they were trying to help people out that were in need, and they wound up dying in the process of Iron Man and company saving the world, that weighs on Tony Stark's shoulders. So it comes down to, ultimately, Tony Stark is not willing to sacrifice lives in this case, or at least have the blame be on him when it comes to the greater good, whereas Captain America is. So when you have the UN essentially be the determining factor as to where or what the Avengers do, it takes the blame off of the Avengers when it comes to any death that may or may not come from them saving the world or saving people. Whereas Captain America, he sees it as, if we see evil, it is our duty to stop said evil, despite A, casualties, and B, the desires of other people. Who knows what the UN is going to say or do that may prevent us from doing any good in the world. But yet at the same time, again, you have Iron Man, who created Ultron, that caused a lot of death. So it's a conflict here in which it comes down to basically that. And so that characterization and that butting of heads between Iron Man and Captain America. And not only do you see this characterization morph into full-on character development for not only Iron Man, but also towards Black Panther at the end, where he lets go of the revenge that he held for the one that killed his father. So all in all, more so, I think characterization-wise, once again, it leans more towards Iron Man and I think Black Panther, but Captain America still does get a massive amount of characterization as well. And now we get on to the negative, the bad, or the things that were just kind of weird and awkwardly placed in one and one. So, let me start here. When it comes to the whole issue of casualties, understand that as far as I can tell, the casualties was not even an issue up until this movie. Like, there were always people dying, while the Avengers, while Iron Man, while Captain America, while whoever were saving the world. However, it was never really a big issue It was never really a core issue up until this movie, and it starts to mentally affect the heroes, where beforehand it was always the greater good. We're still doing ultimately what is just in the world. They had always seen buildings topple. They'd always seen, people, like cars get like blasted away and whatnot, and they'd always make jokes about it. It'd always be like a funny thing, or like they wouldn't even care about it. But now, when a small section of a building gets blown off, oh my god, people are dead now, we need backup. It's like, what the? But hold on, wait. But you guys never gave a fuck up until now. So, all I'm saying is that in the greater scheme of the movies involving the Avengers or the individual superheroes themselves, it was never a big issue up until this movie. Number 2, the whole Vision and Scarlet Witch thing. Like, I understand full on what they were going for, but it winds up morphing into like this Hulk Scarlet Witch mod. I guess because Hulk wasn't there, because as far as I know, he's going to be in Ragnarok. I can't confirm that, but as far as I know, he's going to be in Ragnarok. So, but he's not in this movie, obviously. So, they have to have some weird pairing / relationship thing going on in the movie, and that was Vision and Scarlet Witch. And in all honesty, it was fairly weird. They went nowhere with that. It was just there. At the end of the day, Vision, Scarlet Witch, fluff material. You can assume, rightfully so, that they're going to be important in later films. But at the same time, that's a maybe. I mean, you have to look at the movie from an individual basis first and foremost. You're setting up something for the future between Scarlet Witch and Vision, yes. But the foundation is off the gate shaky as all hell. Like it was awkward. It wasn't really well structured. It became ultimately meaningless within the confines of this individual movie. I'm not gonna say it won't apply in later on movies, but in this movie particularly, it became fucking meaningless. Just goddamn pointless, okay? So moving on from that, we have Black Panther and Spider-Man. Now, I kind of alluded to it in the spoiler-free review. Black Panther and Spider-Man are awesome additions to this film. They are fucking amazing, okay? Black Panther in particular, I thought, was beastly, no pun intended. However, Spider-Man is not necessary for the overall plot. Neither is Black Panther up until like the very, very end of the movie, where he decides not to kill Zemo, and he decides to actually capture him so he can face his crimes and whatnot. And now finally, we get to the last bad part of the film, and that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, is the villain, the antagonist himself, fucking Zemo. I can't believe this fucker killed off the Winter Soldiers that were the core plot purpose of the entire fucking movie, and then come and find out, no, plot twist, it was to get Iron Man here in fucking Siberia so he can watch a goddamn videotape so he can fight against freaking Bucky and Captain America. Oh God, Zemo. Now listen, all right? As far as I understand, the Zemo in the movie is so far from comic Zemo. All right? I am unfamiliar as fuck when it comes to comic Zemo. A friend of mine, Pete, he is, and he was like, nah, like, fuck this Zemo. Like, fuck this Zemo entirely. But ultimately speaking, Zemo, the only part about him as a villain is the technical aspect of the villain. And that's it. He has no characterization aside from him being very technical. I mean, it was unbelievable. Like, Zemo lacked so much substance. It was comical. The dude was Jason Bourne, and he was manipulating the entire Avengers. The whole thing is orchestrated by Jason Bourne. No! Zemo was a bad villain. Yes, he was an awesome technical manipulator, and you could see how he even, in some cases, outwitted Iron Man. But then again, at the same time, Iron Man, Tony Stark, he was preoccupied with a lot of shit. So you can see how he manipulated the entire Avengers, plus other folks like Black Panther. But For fuck's sakes, what else was there to his characterization? I mean, at the end, you find out in a previous incident that his wife and kid were killed. And of course, that was the Avengers' fault. And that's the reason why he did all this shit. But I mean, come on. I mean, we're talking about like towards the very, very, very fucking end of the movie where you start to get something. This is the villain of the fucking movie. Now, granted, the fact of the matter here is that the main focus of the movie wasn't necessarily the villain, but more so it was the issues between the Avengers themselves, hence Captain America Civil War, not Civil War plus shitty villain. No, it's Civil War. So even though villain slash antagonist, he is or she is a primary focused individual within a movie like this, he was not. I'm sorry, he wasn't. All he is there to do is to exacerbate a situation which was already building up. The animosity between some of the Avengers, mainly Captain America and Iron Man. That's it. That's Zemo for you. I mean, he's almost on the same tier as fucking Jesse. I mean, dude. Like, he's not a good villain. I'm sorry, he's not. And the fact that he, who was centered on being technical, on being meticulous and methodical throughout the entirety of the movie, decides to kill the fucking Winter Soldiers that the fucking movie spent how many hours centered on as potential threats? Oh my god. Zemo, why you suck so bad? Why you suck? He sucked. It was ridiculous. Like, my jaw fucking dropped when he killed those fucking Winter Soldiers. Like, oh, they died in their sleep. Don't worry about it. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, what the? Stunned. All of this build up for the Winter Soldiers that were even more skilled than Bucky. I mean, you had like 15 minutes of flashback involving these fuckers, and then just throw it to the side. Nothing. Fluff. They became fluff. Like, oh, Zemo. Shitty. So, I will see you guys and gals later. The movie rating stands at an 8.25. I think ultimately the good massively outweighed the bad. But they are still bad. Oh, they are still bad, no doubt about it. But the movie is, for sure, very enjoyable, and that, I think, is a no-brainer. So I'm done. King of Lightning, rate the video, comment, subscribe, do all that fun stuff, whatever the fuck you want to do. Peace. Have a nice goddamn day.